When the weight feels heavy and the road is long, you've been holding on, trying to stay strong. Doctors and paperwork, so much to face, but here you found a safer place. You're not alone, we're standing by your side, helping you through every twist in the ride, with knowledge, care, and a voice that's true. The Disability Digest is here for you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome. And thank you for being here with us today. And again, whether you're joining us live or you're watching the replay later, thank you. We are glad that you are here for this conversation. So, as we go through today's discussion, feel free to use the chat and send in your questions, and we will be covering some of the most common concerns people have about getting approved, keeping benefits, and working safely while on disability. And just a quick note before we begin, if you wanted to join us live later and ask your questions live, I will also be posting a Zoom link. So everyone is welcome to join us and ask your questions. For those of you who may be new, my name is Nadine. I'm a full-time advocate with the Disability Digest, where we help individuals better understand the Social Security disability process and avoid mistakes that can delay your benefits. Of course, joining us today is Brian Therrien, founder of the Disability Digest. So Brian has spent years helping individuals understand what Social Security is actually looking for when evaluating disability claims. And we are also joined by Mr. Philip Price. Philip,
Good morning, everybody.
he a disability recipient and ambassador, and he works closely with individuals navigating questions around work activity, income, and even benefit protection. So today's conversation is how to get approved and stay approved and avoid these mistakes, avoid common mistakes rather. So one of the biggest misconceptions people have about disability benefits is thinking that approval is based mainly on diagnoses. But in reality, even if you have a long list of diagnoses, but Social Security is evaluating something much more specific. It is about how your conditions limits your ability to function and sustain work activity consistently. And unfortunately, many claims fail not because the person isn't disabled, but because critical evidence is missing, limitations aren't documented properly, or mistakes are made early in the process. So, to help us lay the foundation for today's discussion, I want to start with one of the biggest misunderstandings that we see. Brian, when Social Security evaluates a disability claim, what are they actually looking for, and why do some people misunderstand what needs to be proven to get approved?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that in reverse order. It's the $1 million question.
Sure.
When people are sick, injured, looking for help, and they go out to like the Social Security website or other resources, there isn't an actual guide that shows them or communicates what they're looking for. So they just, they're used to talking about their diagnoses and what they have. So if you look at the information sheet that Social Security provides, it's a checklist of the information. It's just talks about conditions and medication and work history. So here's the situation. What the rules are is that you need to prove that you cannot work, and just having a diagnosis is not it. An example of that would be, let's say two people have degenerative disc disease. They have the same diagnosis, but one person's able to work fine, and the other person is not able to sit for 15 minutes or stand for 20 minutes, or, you know, is not able to sleep more than 5 hours a night because of the chronic pain. So the person with the limitations is not able to work. But if they both have degenerative disc disease in their disability application, Social Security can't tell the difference. So what it comes down to is we have 1.9 million people every year that go ahead and apply, and about 687,000 get their benefits. And the difference is those that get their limitations communicated and understood to Social Security win the game, get approved, and stay approved.
Right. Now, I think a lot of people would sometimes get confused about what is the difference between a diagnosis and functional limitations. Maybe they are told that they should be explaining their limitations, but they don't really understand how the two differs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's if I look at my life's work here and and what I do, it comes down to this one thing. And this isn't just for disability applicants. As a matter of fact, it is a life strategy for people to properly doctor and protect their income. Um, and just, I'm on a little bit of a rant here, but allow me to finish if you would. Um, if you're in the workplace and you're struggling to work, or you're starting to notice some type of, challenge, like the example about walking or sitting or standing, maybe yours is at an hour, but communicating that to your doctor properly and getting those quantifiable amounts of limitations in your medical records does two things. It helps your doctor better understand the challenges that you have. Doctors don't understand disability approval process. They're a doctor. So it helps them understand what you're experiencing and allows you to get better treatment. Because if you're just back to the example of the same people with a diagnosis, it doesn't make any difference. Now, let's say you are working. One of the things that is a great asset to people that are working for companies of 15 or more is you can get workplace accommodations, but you're really only able to get these effectively if you have those limitations in your medical records and that is communicated to HR. They go and look in your medical records and they see the same thing that Social Security is looking for. So point is, this is abundant. And when you get approved for disability, it's the same thing. So that's my perspective on it. And at this time, I'm pretty sure I'm off topic for answering the question, but I feel better about getting that off my chest.
Well, I think, Brian, one thing that we see over and over, like what I mentioned earlier, is that many people, they don't necessarily lose their case because they aren't disabled, but sometimes it's because mistakes are made early in the process or because they relied on information that wasn't accurate. And unfortunately, a lot of people are getting advice from friends, family members, or things they just read online that they don't actually that don't actually reflect what social security is looking for. So if you can talk about some of the most common mistakes that tends to weaken claims or lead to denials.
Spouses and brother-in-laws are for
Yeah.
starters. I'll give you an example. Is I spoke with a member last week, and she had come here and spoke with, I believe, Nadine. And I got on the phone with her. It's like, hey, I was checking in because I looked at your situation. She's been out of work for a while, has a lot of money and back benefits piled up that she could collect on if done right. And she kind of ghosted us. So I was like checking in. So I'm like, what happened? And so she said, well, I got all the information and I understand what to do. And I said, well, first of all, explain to me what to do. And so she explained like our process of understanding what you need to prove, understand how to communicate to your doctor, understand the paperwork that you need to fill out, understand the evidence that you need to go to their doctors. Like those 5 things, she just laid it out. And then I'm like, well, what happened? Are you doing this? And she said, no. She said, my husband wanted me to go get an attorney. I said, all right, well, you'd still do all that and have an attorney. I said, and yes, we do represent cases here too, but you have the disability approval course. So I said, what has the attorney done? What did they explain to you to do? And she said, well, um, la she said, last week I had my appointment at Social Security. And I'm sort of like, okay, but why did you why did you have that? So this representation firm sent her to Social Security, schedule an appointment, go in there, sit down, provide your information. My opinion, total waste of time, and you're subjecting yourself to communicating information that they don't clearly understand, so you lose control of the digital process, problem number one. So, and then as far as the guidance on the forms, they don't do that. They advise her just to fill them out, send them in. So here's my point. She was on track to do everything right, and now it's a total crapshoot. So that's, you have to, I think spouses, partners, getting sounding advices, all of that is fine. But this is going to cost this person a lot of money. I mean, just 1 year of benefits for her is probably like, I think 36,000. And she has like a year and a half on the table. So, yeah.
Would you respond to people who would say, "Oh, I'm gonna wait until I get denied before I hire a representative"?
Yeah.
I usually get that comment.
Yeah. I don't know if this is directly applicable or not, but uh, I was having dinner at my one of my favorite local Italian restaurants the other night, and I have a friend, Ellen. She's a very accomplished horse trainer, and I sat next to each other. We're having dinner and a drink, and we're watching the Preakness, a horse race. So I don't know much about horses. I know like they have 4 legs, most of them. They should. But so I had the opportunity to ask her, like, really what it comes down to for relevancy here is what's more important, the horse or the jockey? So she explained to me what the jockey actually does, and it's more about weight and balance and some general guidance and direction. And a good jockey is not going to win a race with a bad horse. I'm like, oh, I can relate to that because this is what people do here. They haven't done the work on their case. They don't have the right evidence in there and the limitations, and they filled out their forms with guesswork, and they've gone to the doctor that they send them to, and they tell them a whole bunch of stuff that they think is right and it's not. So they've got a junk case, and then they get denied, and they want to go hire like the jockey equivalent of a disability representative. And it doesn't matter if your attorney James Mitchell Brown, who guest speaks here, or anybody else, he readily admits the same thing. You can't win a bad case. So you haven't done the work. So here at the Disability Digest, one thing I think unmodestly we do amazingly well with the resources we provide is just that. Help you build a case. You do it on your own or you do it with us. Or if you want to use somebody else and you have a good reason to do it, do that. Doesn't matter. Just do it right.
In relation to that, about building the case early on in the process, because I had a conversation with this lady, and she was denied before, like way back in 2021. And for the reason that Social Security didn't get her medical records on time when they requested for it. So she is filing again right now, and she initially gathered like all medical information she can have and give it during the initial application. Is that something that they should be doing Or, is it better to wait for Social Security to request the medical records that they would require? Like,
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
We've done it both ways. For years, when somebody would start with us, years, probably 3 years, we requested their medical records, reviewed them, created the file. We don't do that anymore. In a few, like, unique cases, we will. And here's why. Um, by the way, we would take those medical records and we would put them into the Social Security case file. Now, at the initial application, it is Social Security's responsibility to request the medical records. And as a disability representative, one of the things that we have access to is direct access to view the case file, so we can see as they come in.
Mhm.
Um, and so once they're in there and we see how many that we have, then we can go to work on them. Now, having them do them electronically and request them, yeah, there's the whole financial thing because Social Security doesn't have to pay for them, but we do. But winning a case, whatever the right way is, it's short money. So the point is right now, most people that do this work are going to let Social Security request them because that's their job. You can see them anyway. You don't get them as quick. And what I found with our work, when we would request them from the primary care Dr. Frank for, the last 24 months, and we would put those in the case file, and then Social Security would request those from Dr. Frank and put those in the case file, and maybe they only requested 12 months. It just created a duplication challenge, made it difficult for them to separate because they all go into the same like F file in the case file. So we changed. And the results have been, our results continue to get better. So I can't directly attribute it to that one thing. But that's how we do it and how I know many others do it. Again, there are a few that still request everything.
All right. Now that we've talked about some of the things that hurt cases, I think it would also help people to understand the other side of this, like what actually helps
Mm,
build a strong disability case.
yeah. Well, we've talked about the limitations again. I think that certainly is it. Then there's the treatment and the consistency in your treatment. That's going to help. And the thing that really is going to make a difference is written doctor support. They're called medical source statements, residual functional capacity reports are what we refer to them as. And why those are so critically important, or actually Attorney Brown said recently, he says you can't win without them, is it's documents that are brought to your doctor by you, and the doctor fills them out confirming that you're being treated, what their opinion is on your limitations, whether if it's physical, like sitting, standing, bending, stooping, lifting. If it's a brain health, mental health, then it's different. Like, what are your triggers? What are your recovery times? That type of stuff. But the last key thing in this is there's a question in there that asks the doctor, in their opinion, how many days of work in a month on average you would miss. And it's boxes, one or less, two or more, three or more. Now, if they check two or more, that's good. If they check three or more, that's great. And Social Security looks at these. Here's another way to think about it. And you're going to hear actually from a Social Security caseworker that's coming to guest speak here in June. Mark your calendar for that. He'll go through this whole thing with you. When somebody looks at a case file, it's a massive amount of information to go through. Like some of these veterans have 2, 3, 4,000 pages of medical records, right? So if you have all of this to go through, that's one thing. But if you have a doctor's signed report that's 2, 3 pages long that says you are going to miss more than 3 days of work, right? that supports all of the medical evidence, and it just makes it really, really clean. Now, if you're some doctors won't fill them out. Like if you're unfortunately in California and going to Kaiser, they don't do it. Not many of the VA treating individuals do it. So, I mean, you have to plan around that. I tell people to go get other care. I mean, if you want your benefits and it's that important to you, look at how much your benefits are worth. Look at what 4 or 5 primary care appointments are going to be worth. You kind of figure it out, right? So,
Do they have other options in how to get their limitations into their medical records if the doctors like won't sign the RFC?
VA, not so much. It's really hard. They don't record limitations. I mean, they teach their people to play hurt. So, but if you are like if you're going to Kaiser, then you can take the limitations route. You can get those in there, and you have a right for with civilian care. It is your there's a regulation for it that I don't have committed to memory, but we have it here. And we've actually done a video on it where if you communicate something to the doctor and it's not put in your medical records and you've requested it to be in there, like like doc, I can't stand for more than 20 minutes and they don't put it in there, you have the right to get that corrected and put in there. And so we have coached people to do that. And doctors don't want to mess around with this stuff. They're like, oh, all right, already, I'll put it in there. So it works really good. So that's the advantage of civilian care.
All right. So now that we have talked about how to create a strong case, I also think that this next part of the conversation that we're going to have is really important because many people focus entirely on getting approved, but they don't always realize that there is an ongoing responsibility after the approval too. So, can we talk a little bit about what changes after someone starts receiving benefit and some of the common things that can possibly create problems later on if they aren't careful?
Yeah. Yeah, if you're a frequenter here, you've likely heard questions about the CDRs, the continuing
CDRs.
dis, yeah, the continuing disability reviews. They're very concerning to people, and rightly so, because you've worked so hard to get benefits, and 133,000 people a year do lose their benefits, and in large part, it's because of a CDR. So this is my position on it, is I encourage people to focus on the horse. Back to my racing analogy is if you can somehow adjust your mindset to focus on what it is that you can control, like going to the doctors, communicating your limitation, make it a lifestyle to just this is how everybody should doctor, able body or not, in my opinion. And if you do that, then you've done everything that you can do. Now, there's if and so if your CDR is in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, or you're beyond it and you're freaking out, what I'm attempting to do is just eliminate all of that and say, come on, right? Now, there's some nuances to this. Like I encourage people to get better. It doesn't mean that you don't qualify. It's just as a general human interest to get better, to feel better, to right. And there may be conditions that get better. Again, it doesn't mean that you can work. But here's a few things that I want to just add into this, Nadine. In your treatment life cycle, and perhaps Philip, you can relate, and this has happened to you, there are things that come up that don't work or you don't want to do, like a back surgery for the fifth time, and it has like a 3% chance of improving you, but it could really do some damage. You may not want to do that. So you need to properly explain that away at any point in time, whether it's before or after you're approved, so that Social Security understands by looking in the notes that medical records that you've been advised to do this, but here's the health reasons why you have chose not to.
right? So it's also about like continuously communicating if there's any changes with your condition so that you don't panic when the time comes that you get the
Yeah.
form for the CDR. Now, this next item that we are going to discuss, I think Philip would also be the best person to help us navigate through this. And I think it is probably one of the areas most people are nervous and confused about because there's a lot of fear around working while receiving disability benefits. Some people are told they can never work again, while others accidentally put their benefits at risk because they don't fully understand the rules.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Me or Brian?
Yeah, we'd like to hear from you.
Okay. So, yeah, this comes up quite a bit in what we do as advocates, talking to our members, and it's about working. Can I work? Short answer is yes, you can, but, and there's always that but, uh, you got to be careful when you decide you want to try to do something. And there's actually two questions you need to ask yourself. And the first one is, if you're going to work, can I do it? Am I able to do it? And the other question is, what kind of work is it that you're going to try to do? And there are limits to being able to work. I have to follow under the same rules as everybody else. And it's an important question about what type of work you're doing and how much time you're going to put into doing that work. Social Security does put limits on two different things: the type of work you're doing and the amount of money that you're earning while you're doing that work. Now, the SGA limit is $1,620 a month. Now, that's after you're approved for your benefits. If you're going through the process of approval, if you've just filed your application in the process, yeah, you can work, but there's limits you need to pay attention to, because if you're working and Social Security sees that, it's going to throw that red flag up.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to keep your application in queue and keep moving forward, yes, you can work. And, myself, I recommend that you do try to do something, not just sit around and mope about it and say, oh, woe is me. Try to do something to stay busy. But again, that amount of money, while you're going through the process, you want to stay below that $1,620, preferably around 50 to 75% of SGA, which the SGA is the $1,620 a month. Did I get that all right? I hope.
I think just one thing I will add for the audience, the amount you can make and keep your benefits, we'll put a link in here to the regulation, but there's actually two different regulations. So if you're going through the approval process, the figure that Philip shared is correct. The $1,690 is what it's at today, and it changes every year. So I have a hard time committing this to memory. I have to look them up often. But if you're approved, it's a different number. It's less. It's $1,210 as of right now. So, but the concept is the same. Philip nailed it as far as find something that you can do and stay below the allowed amount. And the hours is also an issue. Ideally, something 15, 18 hours a week is a good part-time amount of time for regulation and what we've found for people. And then the money part. So it's
Yeah.
Great advice.
And also, you don't, if you're filing for disability, you don't want to be out there mowing grass or picking up stones and rocks and piling them up and, claiming that you have back issues. So you got to watch out for that.
Yeah. 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 No, that's good points.
All right.
Right now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nadine.
Yeah, how do people like make sure that they're reporting their income correctly? Because I have received a lot of questions lately about, what if I sell a property? I sold our house. Is this going to affect
Yeah.
my income? Is this going to hurt my benefit? Um, how exactly should they be reporting their income, and what are the income that they should be reporting?
All right. Philip, you want to take a shot at this or kick it over to me? What's your preference?
I'll take a little shot at it. uh, if you're working any job that you try to take on part time, you need to report it at least once a month, and you can do that through your portal on the SSA.gov website. And you can also call SSA directly and report any income that you have coming in. It could be income that you earn just house sitting, or because that, even though it's just sitting and watching somebody's house, you still need to report it. They're going to want to know how much time you spend doing that and what are the actual activities that you're doing while you're doing that. So yeah, report everything.
Yep.
All
All
right.
right. If you got anything to add to that, Brian?
So let's cover some income that doesn't count,
Yeah.
which is like investment income, rental property income, passive income, and I'm not an accountant, but your accountant should categorize the income or have it fit into a category where it's not earned income. So the difference here, what Philip referenced, is if you're house sitting, you're actively engaged in earning income. Advocates that work here, they are actively engaged in working. They're trading their time for money. But like if you have a rental property, that although there may be some small work that's associated with it, that's categorized as passive income. So that's the difference, or inheritance. Like,
Yeah.
you should get something like that.
Let's say, what if I run out to the casino this afternoon and win a couple of grand?
I've been asked this before. I don't believe gambling is categorized as earned income. I don't. It's how the income is categorized.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I had to run up and down that casino 4 or 5 times today to win.
Or that could be it, then that's different. I mean, but if you went and you sat down at a slot one time and pulled and hit it big, which I'm sure everybody does, then I mean, yeah. So ask your accountant if
Yeah.
it's earned income or passive. I'd go with passive.
Yeah. When in doubt, ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay in my lane. Congratulations for winning. I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Or bet the horses.
Yeah.
It's another very reliable one.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Brian, there's one thing that people would probably only hear from the Disability Digest, and we wanted you to give us more information about it. It's the Benefit Protection Program.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't hear this from anywhere. Can you give us some insight on what that is?
Sure. So the benefit protection program is for those that are approved for disability. It is a layer of legal protection when they get their continuing disability review. It's the same team that helps our individuals get approved for disability. When they get their CDR, they have the forms filled out. We give them the guidance to do it. We have a course that we put together with Attorney James Mitchell Brown. We review the answers, make sure that they're okay, and they send it back. Hopefully the whole thing goes away. But if it doesn't and continues through the appeals process, then we continue to provide legal support and even go to court. So we provide this to individuals at no cost that are clients of ours that we have helped onboard onto their healthcare choices with Medicare. So there's several of us here that are licensed insurance agents, and because most of the people that we work with, especially getting approved, we know their doctors and their medications and their treatment habits and all the things that are involved with insurance. It's an easy segue to do that. And that's not something people have to do, but if they choose an option that we provide and they enroll in the plan, as long as they're enrolled in the plan, they have this benefit protection program that there's others out there that charge, I've seen as high as $7,000 for support for CDR. So it's no charge. That's the benefit protection program. Only in, I think there's 16 states that we don't do it in, but it's most of the big states that we offer it.
And I shared the link to those of you who wants to know more about it.
Yep.
Brian, I have one other question. It comes up every once in a while in my group, Facebook group, and that's what is the work program if you're approved for disability?
So work program like Ticket to Work or
Ticket to, yes, Ticket to Work.
Ticket to Work. Okay, so the Ticket to Work program is something that you can go through somebody who is an approved ticket taker. It's usually best to work with a benefit planner at Boca Rehab. They'll put you through, you get into the Ticket to Work program, and you can work. And there are some cases where you can do this part-time, but it's mostly for people that have an interest in returning to work on a full-time basis, where if you have the ticket, then you can do it safely and it will protect your benefits, and you don't get reviewed when you're on the ticket program. It's pretty well promoted, but I mean, I know very few people that have been effective at going back through the Ticket to Work program on a full-time basis. Maybe we're just not aware of it, but yeah, so that's the condensed version. And if you're interested, we have had employment experts that come here once a year that represent the Ticket to Work program. It was another live event, and we'd be glad to direct you into that so you can learn more.
Okay.
Okay, so I think it's about time for us to do some Q&As, and I'm gonna be posting a link right now for those of you who would like to come and join in and ask your questions live. And while we wait for someone to join us, Philip, do you have any questions from your group?
Let's see. Most of them are basically what we've already gone over. Yeah, how's the trial work period work? Can working part-time hurt my SSDI claim or continuing benefits if my medical records still show limitations?
If you're trying to get approved, it's really difficult from what I've seen and others that do this work to get approved. There's yeah, especially if you're under 50. If you're over 50 and you're earning like hobby type income, like $400 a month, selling something on Etsy or TikTok shop or right, then that's a different situation. But what you're attempting to prove is that you can't work. So if you're working, it just opens up the opportunity for Social Security to start poking holes.
Yeah.
I think if the best thing to do is use your approval time as setup time, get healthy, understand what it is you would like to do in this new chapter of your life. And if you don't know what that is, one of the best at helping people repurpose from my perspective is going to be guest speaking here soon in June. And that is Salah from Anoya Rebranding Company. She has an amazing story and great advice for people. So, yeah, start small, something reliable, ease into it.
All
And
right.
we have a question here. Oh, sorry. Do you still have more questions, Philip?
I got a couple more here.
Okay, good.
It says, what is considered to be an unsuccessful work attempt, and how
Mm.
does Social Security evaluate it?
Ooh, I love these. Unsuccessful work attempt is a work effort that is less than 6 months. And for really good evidence to help you get approved, ideally less than 3. So it's like you've tried to work and you have not been successful. Yeah. These can actually help a disability case. It's one of the things, so you didn't ask this, but I'm going to share it. One of the things that we have coached people on in certain situations, if they've gone through their initial and gotten denied, the chance to get approved at reconsideration is like 11.7%. So you're going to go to a hearing most likely. That's a good time to, if you really are pressed or you want to just see if your body will allow you to work, is to go for it. And now if it's less than 3 months and it doesn't work, then you've got another piece of evidence to add in your case file. It will like compromise your 11.7% approval chances, but that's not very high. So that would be a time to consider doing it. And if that happens to coincide with like summer work or holiday work or short-term stuff that you can do, then, keep that in mind.
Okay. Last one here. It says, what types of jobs are usually safest for people on SSDI who want to try to go to work?
The best place to work is here at the Disability Digest. I say that unmodestly because we have effectively since 2007 had disability recipients here. It's not for everybody, but for those that are reliable, empathetic, and can talk to people, yeah. So if that doesn't align with your skill set, then that's what you really need to look at first. Like Philip brought that up earlier. I wouldn't look at the job. I'd look at what you like to do, what you can do, how you can leverage your skills and have that fit in. Right. So if you
Yeah.
are, right, if you back to the degenerative disc disease and you want to take a retail job that's going to require you to stand, the probability of being successful, like, is pretty low, in my opinion.
All right, Nadine, I think that's it for today. What do you have over there?
All right, thanks for that, Philip. So we do have a couple of questions here from our live audience. First question is, what happens when someone on disability reaches full retirement age? Does SSDI automatically convert it into regular Social Security retirement? And what should people expect during that transition?
The answer is yes. I don't know exactly what happens, but the language on your deposit amount changes. Check amount stays the same. But a few things for like relative to this conversation is you're no longer a disability recipient. You are a Social Security retirement recipient. Many don't understand this. So what that means is the continuing disability reviews, you won't get those anymore. And you're not subject to the same earnings limitation. You're subject to the earnings limits of one that is, receiving Social Security benefits.
Okay. Another question here. Can someone make income while waiting on SSDI approval? And what should people understand about doing that safely without hurting the case?
Yeah, I feel we've touched on this
It's-
earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
you have to really be careful with this. I don't know your personal situation, what your case is, how good your horse is in the race, as I mentioned earlier. Um, and that's one. And then what work would do. Like if you've really got a solid case and you're 59 and you're back selling something online, maybe. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
This next question, we kind of touched this earlier, but it's like a different situation. So if someone has been working part-time under the income limits, but hasn't been reporting consistently, what is the next best way to start correcting that and get back into compliance?
I'd contact Social Security and just tell them you're working. It is in your award letter. I don't, and see if they would like your historical. That's my best advice. I have never been asked this question. It's a really good one. That's just coming from my, you know, my what is the right thing to do from my perspective. Hmm.
Uh, Right. Next question. I think we've heard this quite often in the other events that we've had. This is a question from Tanya. She said, I heard that Social Security does surveillance on SSDI recipients to make sure they're still disabled to receive benefits. Do they do this all the time or only when CDR is due?
Mm, all the time, I'm going to go, if I had a yes or no, no on individuals. Like you are not, like there isn't somebody outside of Philip's house right now parked in a van that I know of, right?
Okay.
For that reason, anyway, maybe for something else, Phil. I don't know. Uh, so I'm going to go with no on that, and that's been consistent with others that have been on the show. They do consistently have a surveillance process, but there's like 9 million those that are on Social Security disability, and there's not 9 million people doing surveillance. So somehow they have a priority list, which they have actually increased the funding for it. But yeah, so it goes back. My thing is just stay, like Philip said, be careful about what you do, and stay in treatment, live your life.
I have one last question here. I was approved for SSDI in June 2025. My wait time was 14 months. They paid me for 7 months of back pay. During the first 5 months, they said I was also eligible for SSI. When will I expect the pay?
Now, has this person received any pay?
She said she received 7 months of back pay
Okay,
for SSDI.
okay. We had a similar situation with a member, Michael, got approved, and with the SSI, SSDI, there's an offset. So they go through a calculation process. And he had a similar distribution of money for his Social Security back pay. And then he received a second, the mother load of money. That was after they did the calculation of the offset, they figured out how much more that they owed him. I don't know there to be any consistency in this. I haven't seen enough of these to say, well, it's going to happen like 3 weeks later. I do know that they um, do go through and calculate the offset. It does delay people, but you will get your money. So it's hard to pinpoint the exact amount. There's a lot of variables that need to be involved. So I don't know how much value what I just said is, but that's what happens.
I think that makes sense. So yeah, that's the last question that we have from our audience.
Great, great. Super. This has been fun. Hopefully, everybody out there has found some value in really what to focus on, which is there's a responsibility part that it just comes down to you, your doctor, your relationship, and communicating properly. That is the most important thing. If you are absent of that, it's difficult to get approved and stay approved. So that's the big takeaway that I have for you. So we had quite a few work questions today. So I do
Yeah.
want to share here at the Disability Digest more about what we do and the positions that we have that are available for those that are interested out there. And if either of you would like to chime in on this, feel free to do so because you both are actually doing it and I am just talking about it. So I'm going to share my screen here. So here at the Disability Digest, we have, first of all, I'll back you through it. We have a membership that we offer to individuals. And if you're not a member out there, we encourage you to come over to the Disability Digest and consider joining us. There's no charge for your membership. And the value of the membership is you complete a profile once you click that green button. And that information allows us here to understand where you're at in the process and what would be helpful for you. Maybe you're still working full time and you want to know more about doctor communication and what the 5 setup steps are, or you have stopped work and you want to know if you qualify and how to apply. It's a different set of information and courses. Or you just got approved. Maybe you'd like your award letter reviewed, find out if you're getting the right amount of back pay. Now, if we had this individual's award letter that we were talking about, then we could speak accurately about it. Or you've been approved for a while and you're concerned about other things or jobs or income. So the whole membership strategy is segmented. And when you join, you commonly get access to an advocate that you can actually talk to. Like one of these two right here they're both excellent advocates. And they'll better understand your situation and put you in the course and courses that are appropriate. They'll give you heads up on support groups. Philip runs an amazing support group that for people that are going through the approval process, it's an opportunity for them to collaborate and commiserate with each other. He's done a great job. I think it's probably the largest of its kind on the internet. So props to Philip for doing that. So that's a bit about the membership. And back to the work piece to make all of this work is we have people like us that are here that are advocates that we service and talk to members to help them get approved and stay approved. Now, that work is what we call advocate work. And we are looking for advocates, aggressively looking for advocates. And this is the page that Nadine will share. Now, I got to tell you, we consider applicants that are members. If you're not a member, you don't understand the membership, you don't understand how it works, it's difficult for you to step in and make this work. So we are 100% bias, guilty. And what advocates do generally is they're going to be taking calls, input from members, answering their questions, helping them understand the strategy, like I referenced how to build the good horse, your good case, so you can get through the approval process, job and income, all the things that we talked about to help them. So here for disability recipients, why I am promoting it as such is that you come typically with a built-in untrainable skill set, which is your life experience. That you've lost job, income, and God forbid other things. You had relationship challenges. You likely have had to like rebrand and repivot. So your ability to connect and communicate to others is not something that I can effectively do the same way, even if I wanted to, because I'm an able-bodied person like Nadine. So That's one of the really important parts and why we've been able to be successful here at the Disability Digest for years in doing this is our advocate team that are disability recipients. So we look for people that are reliable, and sometimes your condition won't allow you to be. And there is some flex with that here where you work on a team, and if you can't go a certain day, then somebody can cover for you. And, you know, so there is that piece of it because we do understand what it's like. You don't necessarily control your day, unfortunately, your health does. So we look for people that are reliable, and then the empathy piece that comes with your experience and willingness to help others. So if you're a member and that's of interest to you and you want to make some money and make a difference, then these are part-time positions, supplement your income, you stay within the limit. There hasn't since 2007 ever been anybody here that has had their benefits taken away because of work. So we definitely know the regulations. Reviewed, yes, but everybody gets reviewed unless you're in the Ticket to Work program or you're over 65. So a few takeaways for you. If it's fit, come join us. All right. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, none for me.
Good. Great
No,
crowd out there today. I thank you. Thank you. I thank Philip, Nadine for your excellent contribution to today's event. And we will be back here in 2 weeks. June's probably the best lineup for guest speakers we've had like in a long time. No offense to the others, but so make sure you watch your calendar for the live events. 2 weeks from today will be the next one. All right, everybody, make it a
All right.
great day. All right.
hey y'all.
God bless.